To go from this to this, obviously I had to change the way that I was fasting, eating, and living. But what if I told you I was eating more restrictively in this photo than I am in this photo? Stay tuned to the video to find out more. Welcome back, my friends. My name is Sarah. I am known as Carnivore Yogi. Thank you so much for coming back and tuning into this video. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit that like button. I do want to get this video out to as many people as possible because I think there are a lot of people that are really struggling eating more of a restrictive diet. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how I was eating very restrictively and still suffering with a lot of histamine intolerance, a lot of issues, just sleeping, not feeling my best, obviously extra weight, and how I'm no longer struggling with those issues and able to eat a less restrictive diet. So that's really my goal, is that I can help people if they're in that place to come out of that place. Now, I am going to be offering a webinar on Sunday, February 13th at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. If you want a little bit more one-on-one time and a little bit more expansion on the topics that I'm going to talk about today, fasting, macros, all of those things I will be talking about in this webinar. There's a link in the comments and the information section if you would like to come. If you can't attend live, you will get a recording within 24 hours of the event. And if you are watching this after the event, there will be a recording available for you to download after the fact. I'm also going to put timestamps in the information section below in case you guys want to jump around in this video just a little bit. So let's just jump right in. In 2020, as I mentioned earlier, I was suffering from horrible histamine issues. I was only eating egg yolks. I could not eat the egg whites. I was not able to eat any dairy. I was eating a very high-fat carnivore diet. I had to quit all fasting because my hormones had just gotten completely tanked from doing too much fasting and way too high protein with not enough fat in 2019. So in 2020, I kind of swung the other way, quit fasting entirely, went really high fat. The other thing that I did that I've mentioned in a lot of other videos is that I stopped working because it was 2020. So I was no longer teaching in studio, every single day. I was no longer leaving the house. When I did leave the house, I wasn't really outdoors at all. I was never barefoot outdoors. I was never exposing my body to nature. And if I was outside in the sun, I was covered in sunscreen. So those are some things I also want to mention because I believe that me changing those things in my life have made a huge difference in my appetite regulation and the ability of my body to heal itself, because we are only as healthy as the cells and the mitochondria in our body. And so my new focus is really on circadian biology, quantum physics, and how we heal our mitochondria. How can we reverse age our mitochondria? So let's talk about some of the things that I'm eating now in 2022 that I could definitely not eat in 2020. I can eat entire eggs. I can eat lots and lots of dairy. I can eat spices with no issue. I can drink bone broth. I was unable to do any bone broth. It would give me terrible histamine reaction. I have been able to do a little bit of sweetener without an issue. I use the LMNT packets. Now I don't have a code yet. I need to hit up Rob Wolf to get me a code, but I have been just fine with a little bit of sweetener in that form of LMNT. Back in 2020 and years previous, I would really get triggered if I had any artificial sweetener. It would just make me crave more and more and more sugar. That I have noticed since I have really changed my relationship with nature, since I spend as much time outdoors as possible. I see sunrise every day. I'm barefoot as much as possible. Since doing those things, I feel like my appetite and my hormones, all of those things are just so much more regulated. Well, they actually are. I have blood tests to show that they are much more regulated. My body is in much better shape to show that they're much more regulated. But I don't feel that urge to go overboard to eat a bunch of crap. Now, that was not me back in 2020. I couldn't do that. I even now do eat a little bit of dark chocolate every now and then. It's not an everyday thing. It's maybe a once a week thing, if that. But it is something that I can have back in my diet, and I don't go off and go into a binge anymore. I also do not drink coffee anymore. And in 2020, I was drinking between 3 to 5 cups of black coffee per day and thinking, oh, it's black, so it's not bad. But I am sleeping a lot better. My body is just repairing a lot better without that coffee. My HRV has actually doubled since taking that coffee out of my diet. So that's really a huge thing. And I know this video is about what I've added back in, but I also want to talk about that because I think taking coffee out for some people can really, really be helpful. And when we're sleeping better, our bodies are able to repair, and that's going to improve our mitochondrial health. I can also eat vegetables if I want them now. I really don't want them that often, to be honest with you, but I can eat them if I want to. I can eat cauliflower, I can eat, broccoli. I choose really not to eat a lot of spinach or kale or anything like that. I just don't really like those, and they are really high in anti-nutrients, but I can add those things back in if I want. Last summer, I was playing around with eating some potatoes when they were in season. They're not in season right now. It's winter, so my diet is just pretty much more carnivore-ish right now. There's so many different variations of carnivore. There's ketovore and hyper carnivore, and I can't keep up, y'all. I really can't keep up, but I consider myself just meat-based. Meat is the main thing that I'm eating, and all the other things are kind of just condiments. They're just there if I want them. I don't eat super high fat anymore. I eat significantly more protein now, and I don't have any issues with my kidneys. My body handles it just fine. My protein handling is really, really good. If I'm gonna eat beef suet or fat trimmings or any of those things, then I just eat them as a little bitty snack. It's not like the main part of my meal like I was doing back in 2020. You can go back and watch my old videos if you wanna see how most of my plate was like fat and just a little bit of meat. Now it's pretty much the opposite, and I don't have any ill effects from eating, a decent amount of protein now. As far as fasting goes, as I mentioned earlier, I was very anti-fasting back in 2020. Now in 2022, I have added some fasting back in. I will do a 24-hour fast on the occasion. I haven't done a 48-hour fast probably since October of last year, but during, the summer months, I was doing a 48-hour fast once a month and a 24-hour fast once a week. I've kind of slowed down a little bit on the fasting, and I started slowing down the fasting because I added in cold therapy back in the beginning of November. So the last 48-hour fast I really did was October before I had started the cold therapy. Cold therapy is another way to improve your mitochondrial health, again, to reverse age those cells. And I think that doing all that cold therapy also helped me to heal my body so that I've been able to tolerate more foods, more variety. I've also done red light therapy pretty much every single day since September of last year of 2021. And there are actually some studies that have just come out to show that photobiomodulation, red light therapy, has been shown to heal the gut in many, many people and actually improve microbiome diversity. I will link one of the studies there below in the information section if you're interested in finding out more about that. But since I have been doing red light therapy every single day, since I've also been walking around outside barefoot every single day, I have seen my microbiome score actually go up. I use this test. It's a Ombre Labs gut health test. It's not as extensive as like a GI map, but it will tell you your microbiome diversity, the species, and the good ones, the bad ones. And my good bacteria has gone way, way up. Yes, I do use the probiotic from Ombre Labs, but the amount that it's gone up, the diversity that it has to be from barefoot walking, red light therapy, and perhaps even adding a few more foods in. I don't think it's all just the probiotic. I think it's all these other things I'm doing in my life. Now, there are also studies that show circadian rhythms greatly improve all the functions in our body, the hormones, the gut. All of those things are run by the circadian clock. So a lot of you guys have already heard me say 100 times before, I'm very strict with sunrise every single morning. I'm very strict with sunset every single day. And I try to spend as much time outdoors as humanly possible. Now, macros, as I mentioned before, I'm no longer eating super high fat. I do have a lot more protein in my meals, but I don't really weigh, track, and measure. Initially, when I started losing weight, I was doing some weighing, tracking, and measuring. And again, in my webinar that I'm going to be doing on February 13th, I'm going to go into more detail about how I did that and how you can do that. But long story short, in September of last year, I just had to stop doing all tracking because my metabolism had increased so much that I couldn't keep up with the amount of calories I had allotted for myself. So I did, after a while, just kind of throw the tracking to the side and continue to see progress. But I did do some tracking to get the ball rolling. I did do some gut health protocols to get the ball rolling, and I'll talk more about those in my webinar. But you can also check out my playlist with Steve Wright here on YouTube. I'll link it in the information section below for you guys if you want to see more about how I healed my gut using those particular products. But I also want to just mention, you could just try red light therapy. You could just try getting your circadian rhythm set. You could just try walking outside barefoot to get those effects. I've also worked on my hydration, and that's a whole topic. And that has to do with, again, how I am minding my circadian rhythms. Walking around outside barefoot actually has helped with my hydration. Cutting off the Wi-Fi, being more careful around non-native EMFs. Those things actually dehydrate your body. And so when your body is dehydrated, there's going to be this energy deficit. Your appetite can be dysregulated, your sleep can be dysregulated. And so that is another thing that I think is absolutely vital if you are stuck, if you are not feeling well, is to check out your hydration. I also drink structured water, and I think that that helps tremendously in allowing my body to hang on to minerals. But changing my relationship with nature and those non-native EMFs is absolutely crucial for my body in order to be able to hold on to those minerals. I also wear blue blockers at appropriate times, again, to protect their circadian rhythms. So I wear the yellow lenses during the day and the red lenses after sunset. I will link the blue blockers that I use in the information section below for you guys. But those things are very helpful also. So if you are struggling, if you are on a very restrictive place, I want you to, number one, not give up on yourself, have some hope. But sometimes we need to shift the focus away a little bit from the food. And I will be talking extensively about the nutrition, the food, and the fasting in my webinar. But it's also important to look at your daily habits and your daily life, because these things absolutely can do and will play into your body's ability to heal. We're only as healthy as our mitochondria. So looking at your body as a whole instead of just one thing, right? If your car breaks down, pouring more and more high octane gas into it, you know, the nice expensive gas, pouring more of that into it is not necessarily going to fix your car if there's an issue with your engine. So that's really where I'm getting at with all of this. I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. Please leave me a comment or question down below if you have one, and consider coming to the webinar if you need a little bit more one-on-one help. All right, guys, I hope this has been helpful. Have an awesome rest of your day. Bye.